Today, we're going over a build that I have been enjoying a lot since the final shape came out. This is a Prismatic Titan build with the new exotic Hazardous Propulsion. I know a lot of people have been using the new class item, but I haven't gotten one that I like to make a build on yet, but this build is amazing to use and is really fun. With this build, you'll be able to suspend targets with ease, get volatile and unraveling rounds, get void overshields, and become radiant as well as amplified, giving us a ton of buffs all at once. But before we get into the video, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel and myself out a ton. Also, liking the video, it will help the algorithm show this to people who might be interested, and of course comment with what you think about this exotic down below, and let's get into this. First, let's go over our exotic Hazardous Propulsion. This is the new exotic chest armor for Titans and comes with the exotic trait Danger Close. Weapon precision hits or final blows have a chance to load a kinetic Exodus rocket. Activating your class ability fires loaded Exodus rockets. Damaging targets with Exodus rockets temporarily increases the damage you deal with all other rockets. We can load up to 6 of these Exodus rockets, and the chance that we get them is very high. I believe it's every 2 final blows and like every 3rd precision hit. Either way, by the time you get your class ability back, you should have all 6 rockets ready to go. When we damage a target with one of these rockets, we will get a stack of enhanced rockets. At 1 stack, we get a 10% damage buff to our rockets. At 2 stacks, we get 17%, at 3 we get 24, at 4 we get 30, at 5 we get 33, and at 6 stacks we'll get a 35% buff to all our rockets. This is considered an enhancement buff, so we can't stack it with other buffs. This is the highest one that we get, so this is going to take priority. When it comes to our weapon selection, it is good to keep in mind that this exotic can also buff the Wolfpack rounds from both Gallarhorn and Ergo Sum. It buffs rocket sidearms, it buffs Dragon's Breath's ignitions, it buffs Buried Bloodline, and the Missile Barrage from Grand Overture. There are a few other things it buffs, like the Nano Tracer rockets from the Neomuna weapons, but I really didn't use them because they are so infrequent that you might not have the buff when this happens. For me, I used the Call, as it is a rocket sidearm, so it will be buffed from our exotic, and honestly this thing is just so good. I use Lead from Gold and One for All, and it honestly could not be any better. For our energy weapon, I've been using pulse rifles or hand cannons depending on the champs in the activity I'm doing, and I like this to be void for the volatile rounds we're going to add into this build later. And for my heavy, I love Dragon's Breath. This thing hits like a truck, its ignitions will be buffed, it's going to be just overall just buffed in general by Hazardous Propulsion as it is a rocket launcher, but overall you can use whatever you want. Also, keep in mind that we're supposed to get a solar rocket sidearm in Act 2, so that is also going to be a very good option to use. And since we are on Prismatic, let's go over everything for our class setup. For my super, I love Twilight Arsenal. It's so good. It does good damage, it weakens targets, it gives us the ability to pick up the axe afterward, do some extra damage, throw it again. Honestly, probably my favorite super on Prismatic right now. I also use Rally Barricade. Thruster is also a really good option, but be mindful of that when we pick our aspects. I then picked Frenzied Blade for its 3 charges and Shackle Grenades for the extra suspending capabilities. For our first aspect, we're going to be taking Knockout. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attacks make you amplified and restores a portion of your health. Defeating more powerful combatant increases the amount of health restored. We're taking this for 2 reasons. First being the ability to become amplified, which will come into play when we talk about our artifact, and the second reason is survivability. This gives us a good chunk of health when we defeat normal red bar enemies, so it is nice to have. For our second aspect, we're taking Drengir's Lash. Activate your barricade ability to create a ripple in reality that travels forward along the ground, suspending and damaging the targets it hits. With this suspend, we can make them easy targets for our Exodus rockets, making it even easier to get our 6-stack buff for our rockets. When using this with Thruster, however, you just drop a strand mine that has a delay before detonating, and when I played with this, it was very inconsistent for all of our stacks to go off for our rocket damage. For fragments, we're going to start with Facet of Hope. While you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. We're always going to have some sort of elemental buff, so we're going to benefit from this the majority of the time we're playing, giving us the ability to get our class ability back faster and shoot out more missiles from Hazardous Propulsion. Next we have Facet of Devotion. Defeating targets afflicted with stasis or strand debuffs will grant bonus light transcendent energy with a +10 to strength. Suspend is a strand debuff, and with 2 ways to suspend targets, we will benefit from this a lot. This also helps because we're mostly going to be using the call, which will contribute to our dark transcendent energy. So with this, we can hope to balance it out and get to our transcendence faster and be able to just spam the abilities we get from that. Facet of Bravery. Defeating targets with grenade final blows grant volatile rounds to your void weapons. Defeating targets with powered melee final blows grants unraveling rounds to your strand weapons. Our grenade won't always defeat a target, but it does happen enough that running a void weapon is a good idea for the extra volatile rounds. And of course, you can always swap out the grenades if you don't want to use shackle grenades. Frenzied Blade is just a good overall melee that is going to allow us to get unraveling rounds for the call, and it's going to just spread a lot easier, and it also is considered a strand debuff, meaning we're going to get more light energy from our previous fragment. Facet of Purpose. Picking up an Orb of Power grants either Amplified, Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or an Overshield based on the damage type of your equipped super with a -10 to our recovery. Picking up an orb is going to give us that Void Overshield due to our super of this choice being with Twilight Arsenal. And also while writing about this, I thought about using Thunder Crash and becoming the missile itself, but without Curus of the Falling Star, Thunder Crash just isn't good, so Twilight Arsenal is the better option to have here. And finally, we have Facet of Protection. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage, while Transcendent, the effect is increased with a +2 to our strength. This is just nice to have for the extra resistance, but you can easily change this out for whatever you want. For armor mods, starting on our helmet, we're going to take Harmonic Siphon for our void weapons to make orbs. You can change this to Strand Siphon or switch to Blade Fury as your super so our sidearm can make orbs. Heavy Ammo Finder so we can have tons of rocket ammo and sidearm ammo if you're using lead from gold. And Dynamo to help get us our super back faster when we use our class ability. For arms, I took Heavy Handed to make orbs, but you can swap to Firepower. I took Solar Dexterity just so I could pull out Dragon's Breath faster in order to quickly get shots off, and then Fastball to throw our grenades further. On our chest, we have Charged Up for more armor charge stacks and our resist mods. On legs, I have Stacks on Stacks, so an Orb of Power counts as 2 stacks of armor charges, better already for health regen, and then Innervation for our grenade, but you can swap to Invigoration if you want. I'm sure I got those backwards. You get the idea. For our mark, I have Reaper for orb creation and utility kickstart so you can consume our armor charge stacks and get energy back for our barricade. This is going to help a lot with just shooting out more missiles. And if you have room here, you can also put bomber or outreach here just to help off with your ability energy. For our artifact, I have Threaded Blast for our tangles, Void Hegemony, whatever you want to call it, for void overshields, Radiant Orbs for radiant, Galvanic Armor so we have more resistance when we are amplified, and then Shield Crush so we have increased melee and grenade damage and regeneration when we have those specific subclass buffs. For stats, mine are awful, but the important thing here is maxing out your resilience, not just for the natural damage reduction, but to reduce the cooldown on our class ability for, again, more rockets. Overall, I think this build is amazing. I think that this exotic is probably one of the better exotics that Titans have gotten recently, and to be fair, it really works. It works really good, especially with Prismatic. I'm not a fan of Prismatic. For me, I believe everything that makes a Titan did not make it into Prismatic. When I hear Titans, I think of Void Overshields, I think of Sunspots, I think of Knockout, which they got, which is really good because they needed some survivability, but like, those are the things that I think about when I hear a Titan, not Consecration, not this unbreakable aspect. I know it's new and that's what they wanted to give it to us, but it's just not good, and I've tried making it good, and I'm still looking for a specific class item to make it better, but it's like, to me, I think Titans really got the short end of the stick, and I really hope that they plan on bringing more things into Prismatic because I think that would help out Titans a lot. But this exotic with this setup actually makes Prismatic Titans feel pretty good. So use it. Let me know what you think. But that is the end of our video. So like, comment, and subscribe, as every single one of those actions helps me out a ton. And I'll see you guys in the next video.